Welcome to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports. It has been a while, but welcome back to Audible Sportscast, everybody. We have Cody and Jeff here. How is it going, Cody?
Not too bad. How's it going?
It's going good. It's been a while, but we finally get to talk about the thing we all love to talk about, football. It's been couple weeks now. A lot has changed in the NFL landscape, but we're finally to the point where the teams we talk about are really the ones that matter, and the ones in the playoffs, and the ones that could potentially now win the Super Bowl here in a couple short weeks. So to be kind of ready for and talk about the NFL playoffs, we thought a good thing to do today is just go over the playoffs, talk about the super wild card weekend, as it's called now, because it's so super with so many teams playing. Let's just kind of go right into it, talk about some of these playoff games. But I guess before we do that, games of the week, we did a couple of those this year. Final standings for the season, to go with that, Cody, you went 4-2. Brett, who's not here, went 11-10, and then I did 17-11. So in reality, Cody, when you look at kind of percentages, you had the best winning percentage, but I had the most wins. But
yeah, I only did like 1 week though. So
yeah, but hey, that's pretty good for, I think, that's 2 weeks there because there's 3, 4, and 6 games. But let's start with the NFC side, because NFC is the best. Just kidding. It's probably going to be the AFC. But first game let's talk about here, it's a game we've already seen twice this season, and that's the Seahawks versus the 49ers. Now, right now, as we stand, Seahawks are currently 9.5-point underdogs for this game. But I see this being a lot closer game than they have kind of predicting right here.
I don't know. I like the playoff. I like San Francisco in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be very close. It just, I guess it depends. I know they have the running game, but I think it depends on if we haven't seen Purdy in the playoffs yet. So
I mean,
I guess it depends on him. We know what Geno looks like, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy going from Mr. Irrelevant to now looking like a potential star in the NFL, crazy to think about. And this is really, I mean, he's had a lot of tests, of course, so far this season, but now being a playoff team to one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, that they always say is just a quarterback away from being, a dynasty in some cases. So this is, I really see this being a close game, for the simple fact is these are divisional opponents. Last time these two teams played, which was, I believe, Purdy's it was a second start, I believe, in his NFL career, and it was a pretty close game. And it's just, when divisional teams play for that third time, anything can really happen. I mean, the saying goes, you never want to see a team in your own division in the playoffs, just because anything really can happen. But I mean, you gotta go 49ers. I mean, they have always been my kind of Super Bowl team. Maybe not to win it, but at least coming out of the NFC, they've been kind of my team through pretty much all 3 quarterbacks they've had start. So I'm going to go the 49ers, but I think it's going to be a lot closer game. I really see maybe the 49ers winning this game by like a field goal at the end. I could see this being like a 24-21 type situation, 49ers.
I can see that, but my gut says 49ers by like 2 scores.
I mean, I can see that too. We've seen this 49ers defense show out, and I mean, the only team that really be able to do anything on this 49ers defense since the early weeks at least was the Raiders a couple weeks ago with Jared Stidham at quarterback. So who knows, maybe the Seahawks can learn something from that. I mean, they've had close games with the 49ers for a while. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun game. I mean, it's playoff time. Who doesn't love playoff games? They're always the most exciting. When you look back even at last year's playoffs, almost all of them came down to a one-score game with back and forth, especially pretty much the entire playoffs. It was probably some of the most exciting playoff games I've watched, at least from I can remember. So hopefully it continues into this season, but let's go straight into the next game, and that is another game we've seen already this season, and that's the Giants versus the Vikings. Last time we saw these teams play, the Vikings won on a 61-yard field goal, and I think it might be the other way around this week.
It will.
The Vikings are just one of those teams that they're
not
really
good.
They're an anomaly.
They're frauds.
I wouldn't call them frauds per se. Yeah, they've lost to some really good teams by a lot, but to me, this team, if people who remember last year, the Vikings couldn't win the close games, and that was their problem and why they missed the playoffs by like a game or two last year. This year, they have won all of the close games. Like if you were to like, I've seen some people say like the Vikings are one or two plays in each game away from being a 4-win team to a 12-win team, and that's just how close these games are.
What, they're the only team in NFL history to have a negative point differential and have a winning record?
I believe so. I think they're the fourth team to ever go to the playoffs with a negative point differential. I
forget the specifics.
Fun fact, one of those teams did win the Super Bowl. Can you guess which one?
No clue.
The 2012 New York Giants.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
So there's a little fun fact for everyone's day. Maybe win a trivia with that. Who knows? But the Vikings, it all comes down to one man. The man who is having somehow his worst but best career or season in Kirk Cousins, and he's had one playoff win his entire career. Can he get over the hump against this Giants team that is coming into this game some of the healthiest it's been in a while? You know, they pretty much rested their entire team last week to be ready for this game, and you know they're going to come in with some, a monkey on their back for the fact that, one, they lost to this team by a 61-yard field goal, and two, they've been doubted all year long. No one expected the Giants to be in the playoffs. No one expected Daniel Jones to be kind of what he has been, especially with no weapons this year. And who knows? We saw last week Kenny Golladay have his first receiving touchdown in what feels like 20 years from how he's been playing, or I guess lack thereof playing, because he's been just stealing money from the Giants organization the last 2 years. But who knows? Maybe this is last week was what he needed, and maybe the Giants can go on a little run here. I'm not going to say maybe they go on a run, but I have them winning this game. I think it's going to be a close game. Both these teams love to play in close games, but I have the Giants winning it in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I agree. I like Daniel Jones. I think his playing ability is a lot higher than it was, and I like what I see in him, even with no weapons, other than one or two.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Hodgins coming out of nowhere to be the current Giants wide receiver 1. It's crazy to think about. The Giants are in this position with what they have. I mean, defense has always been really good the last couple of years, so it's nice to see. It's just one of those teams that they needed something to get going, and this year with, Brian Daboll as their head coach with a new revitalized system, they've looked the best they have been in a very long time. Maybe even since that. They've went to the playoffs a couple times since 2012, but this might be maybe their best team since. So who knows what can happen with them, and I can't wait to see not only how they play this game, but what the future holds, because this is going to be a very important offseason for the Giants organization. So I hope they can maybe get some momentum and win a game or two in the playoffs to show some players in free agency, hey, come to New York, we're building something here. But next up, to finish up the NFC round of the Super Wildcard Weekend. We have a matchup, surprise, surprise, a matchup we've already seen this year. I'll have to go all the way to week 1 to find it, but Cowboys versus Buccaneers, and probably, I would say, the game that is the hardest to probably predict.
I want to say it's easy, but it's not. But I'll never bet the Cowboys, especially when they're in the wild. I mean, there's a lot of teams in the wild card now, but I don't like Dak. I don't like what he did last week. I don't know. And he's playing Tom Brady. Tom Brady's never lost against the Cowboys. I don't really like bringing those types of stats to the light, but
I mean, for situations like this, you almost have to. I mean, with how close this game feels like to predict. Like, oh, the Cowboys in the playoffs, normally bad. Tom Brady in the playoffs, normally really good. Like, he's, I think, only lost one wild card game his entire career, something like that.
And never lost to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, him being in the AFC for a long time, he didn't play them as much. But it's still, like, it's Tom freaking Brady. If there's one person I'm not going to doubt when it comes to playoff time, it's Tom Brady. And this team, yes, this Buccaneers team has struggled all year, but they ended up putting together, at least there at the end, maybe not so much week 18, but I hardly count week 18 games, especially like when a team's half resting, half not. I mean, Tom Brady barely played against the Falcons last week. I mean, he was sad at some point in the game, but you never this Bucs team has looked a lot better the last couple weeks. And that's the last thing you want as a Dallas team who has been struggling the last couple weeks to see. And, it's in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is actually currently a 2.5-point underdog for this game. I think with everything considered, I got to go Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, I don't like what I see in the Cowboys.
And this is it's kind of a thing when you look at the Bucs here. This is exactly what a lot of us sports fans have been hoping wouldn't happen. Tom Brady sneaks into the playoffs because we know what can happen in the playoffs. I mean, this is the point where, you want a guy like Tom Brady. I mean, that's why we'll talk about maybe even the Bengals here in a second. That's kind of the one person I can think of that's I completely take that back because almost every single AFC quarterback is just a dog. But it's Tom Brady. I feel like his name alone speaks for himself, and I don't have to say anything about him. I know it's a team game, but this Tampa team has a bunch of nice old veterans that know how to win. I mean, they have Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Yes, some of these guys are banged up and might not play a lot, but you only need, when it comes to this time of year, you only need one or two plays to really win a game, potentially. So, I don't know. It'll be a fun game, but I gotta go Bucks. I can see this being like a 28-21 type game.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't think the Cowboys are going to get blown out or anything. The Cowboys do have a chance to win, but it's the Cowboys, and Dak freaks out a lot and makes not very smart decisions with the ball. So, and it tends to be the teams that are struggling too, which is funny. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Here's a question for you. Say Dallas loses this game. Jerry Jones has said that Mike McCarthy is safe no matter what happens in the playoffs. But depending how this game goes, especially if they lose, I don't think they have to even lose a close game. I think Mike McCarthy might find himself fired after this game if he doesn't at least show something here.
I don't know. Jerry Jones, he's known for making very dumb decisions. Look how long he held on to Jason Garrett. I don't know.
I mean, I agree, but I mean, maybe he's to that point where he feels like this is his time to win. I mean, that's the whole reason they got rid of Jason Garrett, because he was just done with the mediocrity. So maybe this comes to a situation like, hey, we see guys like Cliff Kingsbury, Sean Payton, these really offensive, in some minds, offensive masterminds. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, whatever you want to say about him. But like these guys who can run successful offenses are potentially available. Like, I mean, Jason Garrett could be a guy we maybe see coaching the Dallas Cowboys next year. I doubt it, but who knows really in this NFL landscape.
Did you say Jason Garrett?
I meant Sean Payton.
I was going to say that.
I meant Sean. Yeah, there's no way
back.
Jason Garrett's leaving his NBC job. He's getting paid more to clap there than he would be to clap in the NFL. Because, that's what he likes to do, just sit on the sideline and clap. But yeah, I meant Sean Payton. Jason Garrett on the mind. It happens. But that's what we got for the NFC. We'll talk a little bit later about them when it comes to the next round in the divisional round. But let's move to the AFC. The most exciting game to watch right here is the Chargers versus Jaguars. Two teams that are arguably, when it comes to the matchups, are the healthiest of all of the AFC games. And we're seeing the Chargers get even healthier potentially. They have a lot of guys that were on IR coming off of IR now with Joey Bosa, Rashawn Slater. Yes, they lose Mike Williams for potentially this game and maybe longer, but this is some of the healthiest they could potentially be in a long time. And the Chargers are kind of one of those teams that a lot of people expected big things from. But currently as it stands, Jaguars at home are 2.5-point dogs. I don't know about this game. I've been going back and forth on it, but I think when it comes with how good both of these, I would say how good both of these teams are, it comes down to quarterbacks. And both these, Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, have pretty much put their teams in the position to be where they are right now. And I'm gonna go Chargers just for a simple fact. I want to see. I am excited for Justin Herbert in his first time in the playoffs here.
I'll be honest. I have the Jags in this. I like what I see from them, and they're on their little run from what they start out 2-What'd they go from? They're 2-6, weren't they? And they went on the run to where they are now.
Let me check. They did have a little. They are on a run. They were 2-6.
That's what I thought. And Jags beat the brakes off of the Chargers early in the season.
That is true, dude. They have some, they want a little bit of revenge, though.
Could be. It's 38-10. I don't know. I like what I see in the Jags, and it's playoffs, so I think it'll be close, but I got the Jags.
Jags winning in Duval. I mean,
the Jags have some unexpected weapons we didn't see, or no one expected Zay Jones to have 12 reception games and with like 130 yards.
It's just Trevor Lawrence is getting what needs to get done with the weapon. I mean, I wouldn't say he has horrible weapons, even going this season. I definitely underrated. I've always been a fan of Zay Jones. A lot of people thought Christian Kirk was overpaid. Maybe he still kind of is overpaid, but he played how he needed to play for them to be in this position, and that's all you can ask for. All you can ask for is for your team to get to the playoffs, and from there, they have a dude in Trevor Lawrence who can maybe take them to the top. I've been going back and forth on this game, like I keep saying. Like, I could see the Jags. Jags at home. Jags won the last, I think, 5 in a row. But I think just the Chargers are getting a little bit healthier at the right time. I'm going to do it kind of strictly on that with the Chargers. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a fun game, though. I could see this being a really fun game. I know I keep saying these games are going to be close, and, who knows, they all could turn into blowouts because you never know what can happen. But I'm going to go Chargers. Our first difference. I wonder if that's going to continue at all. Probably not, considering how the rest of these teams are banged up that we're about to talk about. And let's talk about one of those right now. Buffalo Bills versus Miami Dolphins. First time these two teams played together against each other. A phenomenal game. Tua had to sit out. He came back. It was a fun game. But Tua's not going to play this week. They're going to rely on a third-string quarterback in Skylar Thompson to potentially win this game against what a lot of people call potentially the best team in the NFL against the Buffalo Bills. Currently, it's Buffalo. I mean, I feel bad for not talking about this Dolphins team because they put up a really great season. I mean, they started 8-3. Yeah, they did have a 7-game losing streak or whatever it was. But it's just they're in I feel so bad for them for being in the situation where, Tua has gone through what he has, and now that they're finally in they are a really good team with a really good chance, but just they can't have a healthy quarterback, and it sucks because it's a really talented team from offense to defense.
Yeah, I mean, the team's really built on their weapons, and the ball's not going to get to those weapons. By the time he goes through his C's like Tyreek and Waddle, it's going to be too late.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see how great of a coach Mike McDaniels is, and just gives his weapons the opportunity. Because I mean, when we talk about Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, all you need to do is really get them the ball. But that's been the problem these last pretty much several weeks without kind of Tua there, is they haven't been able to get them the ball. So I mean, we'll see.
It's gonna be the Bills by a couple scores.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a 13.5 favored win for the Buffalo Bills. I could see it being that much, but we'll see.
No, honestly, it could be more. I have at least a couple.
Yeah, it could get ugly quick, but it sucks. It sucks to see, but next up, speaking of games where quarterback's injured, we have Ravens versus Bengals. It looks like Lamar Jackson is not going to play this week, and that makes it hard for me to pick the Ravens. I mean,
yeah, there's not a chance.
Even with Lamar, I would probably honestly go Bengals just because Joe Burrow is, I mean, I kind of took it back a second ago when I said it, but he is a dude, and he just knows how to win when it's important to win it.
Yeah. Who's even starting for the Ravens?
I want to say Anthony Brown will start again this week, who started last week, but I am not 100% certain if even Tyler Huntley will.
Last I saw, he's still hurt, but I could be wrong.
I think it potentially could be Anthony Brown again if Lamar is not ready, and all the signs show that Lamar there's not the best chance he will play. I think if he does play, though, that could be a really fun game. I mean, currently it's a 10-point favorited Bengals game, but that's with signs showing Lamar. If Lamar plays, I mean, this game is in the Sunday night slate. So I think they're trying to give Lamar the most, time to prepare himself to potentially play. So I hope he plays just because I want good football. These are playoff games. These are supposed to be the most exciting games. So you want, of course, your best players to play.
Yeah, it's looking like Huntley's starting. He's back to practicing, but he has that shoulder injury, so it's not set in stone yet.
Yeah, like I said, even if Lamar was playing, I'd have trouble picking them against the Bengals, just because the Bengals are, it's kind of like some of these teams. They got hot early in the season. A lot of people had some question marks on them, but they knew when to get hot. Like last year, they beat the Chiefs. They were looking like they were going to beat the Bills, but that game, of course, was canceled. And I mean, it's a really talented team from top to bottom when you look offensively, defensively. I mean, whenever you have three receivers that are potential wide receiver ones on almost any other team, not to mention a all-pro caliber running back, and while there is still question marks on the offensive line, we saw last year in the playoffs, Joe Burrow got sacked 7-8 times against the Titans, and they still won the game. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just that dude. Joe Burrow is that dude, and hopefully all these AFC quarterbacks stay healthy in the long term, because we could see a lot of fun games over the next several years with all these quarterbacks and potentially, other quarterbacks that come in, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, couple guys who are potentially linked to a couple AFC teams. We talk about the Texans, Colts. We'll see. We'll talk about the draft later, but it's all about the playoffs, and we both have the Bengals winning this game. So, moving on to the divisional round, going back to the NFC, we have the number 1 seeded Eagles, who will play for both of us, the New York Giants. A fun game that is, I say it, I feel like I'm saying this a lot. Wow, all these teams have played in the regular season. Of course, the last time these two teams played was last week when the Giants pretty much benched everybody. But I could see this being a fun game. I really like the Eagles, but I'm not set in stone that they're the number 1 team quite yet. But I still kind of have to go with them. I'm going to go Eagles for this game in the divisional round. Problem I have with the Giants is when they have played a really good defense, they have showed a lot of signs of struggling, especially, on the side of maybe Daniel Jones, and the fact they don't have true number 1 wide receivers. We saw that later on when they played against the Cowboys and among several other teams. So it's hard for me to really go against the Eagles. Yeah, I don't have it set in stone right now. I really can't wait to see how Jalen Hurts will play in the playoffs, and now actually have this is a really good team from top to bottom. But I gotta go Eagles.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Eagles they'll beat the Giants pretty decently. The first time they played, they will beat them more than 20 points. And then they played the last game, which really can't really take that much into account. But yeah, I like the Eagles. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's probably going to be a touchdown.
Yeah, I could see this being honestly a pretty low-scoring game. I could see this, if this is the game that happens, I could see this being like a 21-17 type game.
Yeah, the Eagles are just the better team.
I agree, and let's move on to the next game. We have a game, surprise, surprise, another game that we've seen already this year. Last time these two teams played, it was a blowout, but I have a feeling it won't be a blowout again this time around. We have the 49ers versus the Buccaneers, and the last thing you want is to have destroyed Tom Brady, and now you give him a chance to redeem himself.
Yeah, this game's hard.
This is a tough game. I mean, obviously, people are going to be like, oh, 49ers blew them all out already. But, I mean, it's kind of like when you play divisional games in the playoffs. Sometimes you just, maybe you played them on a bad game. That was a tough week. That was I believe Brock Purdy's first start, so they didn't really know what to expect from him. So, now that the team has gotten a little bit better when it comes to kind of getting back to how they should be, maybe a win under their belt against the Cowboys will really help the Bucs. But I really don't know where to go with this game because, for one hand, the 49ers are kind of like, they've been my Super Bowl team through and through. But at the same time, it's Tom frickin' Brady. And a part of me feels like this could potentially be his last season. Will he, ride off into the sunset this year?
I think I have the Niners winning this. It's tough because I don't know what the Bucs are going to look like in the playoffs. I don't know if they got their stuff straightened out. But like you said, it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. Different guy.
I mean,
not really a different guy, but
he's the guy.
Stuff just falls for him in the playoffs.
That's definitely true. So, just to be different, I'm gonna go Bucs for this one. I don't want to, but I mean, I'm going to, and that's gonna be a fun game. I could see whoever wins that game potentially is the one who makes it out of the NFC Not that I have anything against the Eagles. I just think both these are just really good teams. And when it comes to the Bucs themselves, yes, they have struggled a lot this year, but we know what they're capable of. And, they're already this far in. It just could be a really fun game. I'd like to see how it goes. Obviously, the Bucs, offensive line injury riddled. How is that going to go against a really good 49ers front? When it looks like, Nick Bosa has turned himself into potential front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. Eric Armstead, it's a really good defense through and through. But I'm just gonna go Buccaneers. Be a little different, but at the same time, I think they could potentially win this game. This is a game where I could see this being a very high scoring game. I could see this being like a 38-35 type game.
Yeah, I can see it.
Just back and forth, maybe low. I could see this being a very low scoring first half, but just things ignite in the second half.
I think it all just depends on if the Bucs offense can get things working. If they can't, then it's game over.
Yeah, not to mention Brock. We still don't know what to expect from playoff Brock.
Yeah, that too.
So we'll see. Rookie quarterbacks against Tom Brady in the playoffs. Not necessarily. I don't even know if that's ever happened. Trying to think back at it. I'm sure it has, but we'll see. But that's the NFC for this divisional round. We got the AFC now. We got Chiefs for me versus the Chargers, for you versus the Jags. I've been going back and forth on this one. I kind of did a little stuff earlier, and I'm going to go Chargers.
Who's in yours?
I got Chiefs, Chargers. You got Chiefs, Jags.
Yeah, in your situation, you said you have the Chargers?
Yeah, they always play fun, close games, and I think...
Yeah, they do.
I think Herbert might go on a little bit of a run here.
I got the Chiefs in your situation, but I won't go into that because I don't even have the Chargers winning, being the Jags, so... But in my situation... Yeah, I got the Chiefs. Either way, I got the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. Chiefs are potentially the best team in the NFL, and the only reason I kind of picked the Chargers is, one, it's kind of like I'm sounding like a broken record here, but they've played each other twice now already. They're getting a little bit healthier compared to the last couple times they've played, because they did start really banged up early. And, they're just a little mental errors kept the Chargers away from winning both of those games. And now playoffs, I think we're going to see a side of Herbert we might not have ever seen. And I think it's going to be a fun game no matter what. High scoring game, maybe the highest scoring game in the playoffs. This whole time it might be. But I'm going to go Chargers, one, to be a little different, than two, I think the Chargers actually have a chance against the Chiefs. If one team has a chance, I think it's the Chargers and the Bengals, and I'm going to go Chargers. Get to beat them because they play them first. But Chiefs, easily the number one team in the NFL. So I say that, but I also, it's going to take a lot to beat the Chiefs. But final one we have, this is for both of us, a rematch for a game that didn't get completed. We have Bills versus Bengals.
This one's tough.
This one is tough. When looking back, the Bengals were looking like they were going to maybe potentially go on a roll against the Bills, but this Bills team is different now, considering all things that happened. They have not only a chip on their shoulder, but they're fighting for something. And so, it's also Bengals, though. Bengals are that team that could win it against anyone. This is a tough team. I think whoever wins this game potentially wins the Super Bowl or goes to the Super Bowl at least. No matter if the Chargers or whoever beats the Chiefs, I think just these two teams are that fun. But I'm going to go Bengals. I think with Burrow and company, that offense, we see just they have stuff to prove after kind of losing in many cases. In many cases, just losing what could have been in last Super Bowl. They want to come back. They want to win it. And I think they have the team to do it.
I have the Bills. I don't know. I like the Bills, and that's not a good reason, but all situations together. Like last year, the Chiefs and Bills game, it was so close, and if it didn't come to a coin flip, the Bills probably would have won that game. And I think they're an even better team now. So I know they're playing the Bengals, but
I mean, I
these AFC teams are so close.
I know that's the thing that sucks about the AFC.
I have the Bills.
I
have the Bills by maybe like
a point,
one score.
Maybe one of them goes for 2 at the end to nail it.
Yeah,
like that's
like that situation.
That's how crazy this AFC is, and how it has been the last couple of years, pretty much since Brady moved from the AFC. There's these X teams: Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. I mean, we're kind of seeing it with a couple other teams. Now we're seeing the Chargers kind of get in the mix. We might in the future see the Jaguars, Dolphins, depending how Tua goes. Like, it is loaded with talent in the AFC, and it could turn into a situation kind of like what we saw between Manning, Brady, and a little bit of Roethlisberger. Each team kind of has their time to shine each year. So we'll see, but I mean, as far as things go, yeah, it's tough. But let's move real quick. AFC Championship. Yours is Bills Chiefs, which will be played in Atlanta if that happens. Mine's Bengals Chargers. I gotta go Bengals. Going back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in that situation, I can see that.
But what do you got for your Bills versus Chiefs?
I have to say the Chiefs. I don't want to say the Chiefs, but I'm going to say the Chiefs.
Yeah, I feel that. It sucks to say. It sucks, and it's like we just said, any of these teams, like, it's going to be so fun to watch. I can't wait to watch these games. But moving to NFC, Eagles versus 49ers. For you, who do you got winning that?
This is the same as the AFC. I'd like to see the Niners, but I think it's going to be the Eagles. Actually, this is one of those games. It's a very similar game to the AFC. I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think neither championship games are going to be the same or are going to be like blowouts. They're going to be close games.
I think when it comes to this NFC side, it's going to be potential low-scoring affairs, but we'll see. I mean, we're talking, weeks in advance. Who knows what could happen? But I got Eagles Bucks. I'm going Tom Brady. I hate to say it, but he's going to ride in the sunset, going to NFC Championship or going to the Super Bowl, I should say. So you got Chiefs versus Eagles in your Super Bowl, battle of the Andy Reid head coach teams, I guess to call them, and I got Bengals Bucks. It's not really a fun little nickname I can give for that, but what do you got?
Another Chiefs Super Bowl.
Yeah, I can see it. That's going to be a fun game. Hurts versus Mahomes. We got talented teams, but it's hard to go against the Chiefs. It really is. It's hard to not just say the Chiefs are going to, win every single chance they get. But I'm going to stick with the AFC just like you, and I'm going to say the Bengals win the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to go on a game-winning drive, and Joe Burrow's going to be like, nah, this is my time to shine, and go on a game-winning drive to win his first of potential many Super Bowls.
And then Tom Brady won't shake his hand.
Maybe not. And then he's going to retire. Actually, no. If he loses the Super Bowl, he's probably not going to retire. He's going to potentially go to a different team. He is a free agent. I've heard some reports. Maybe he goes to the Raiders. That'd be interesting. Come back to some.
I don't think you'd want to do that.
I mean, Josh McDaniels is there. Potentially Devontae Adams stays. He has himself a white slot receiver. That alone might get him to go.
Yeah, there's definitely weapons. But
yeah, we'll see. This is talking so far in advance. Who knows? I mean, he might retire and then unretire and then join a team. Who knows? Literally anything can happen. But that's how we feel the playoffs are going to go around. So let us know how wrong we are. Let us know how right we are. And just make sure Like, comment, subscribe, hit the follow button, hit the notification button on YouTube. If you see a button, as long as it's not a bad button, hit it. That's all I got to say about that. And just keep an eye out for any rankings, anything. And hey, tell us who you think is going to win the Super Bowl and tell us the score. And if it's right or very close, maybe you'll win some merch. But that's all we...
Hey, even if you do hit the dislike button, it'll only bring more attention.
Yeah, that's a good point. But hey,
that's how the algorithm works.
That's how it works. And so just be boop, bop, boop, boop, hit all the buttons. But that's all we got for you. I'll see you.
See you later.
Thanks for listening to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports.